In less than a month, Rwanda will host the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, CHOGM. The meeting takes place following 2 years of postponement due to the pandemic's restrictions. Participants of the meeting are expected to bring together a number of heads of state and discuss a variety of issues, including the application of new countries seeking to join the organization. IGIHE spoke with Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland on the preparations of the meeting. She also hinted at deals that are likely to be signed and 2 new member countries that might be admitted, amongst others.
Well, I think you should watch out. There'll be a lot of excitement. I hope we might see 1 or 2 new members in Kigali. I have to say is how delighted I am to be here in Rwanda for this 12th conference of the anti-corruption agencies. The Commonwealth has been working assiduously on this issue of corruption because, as you probably know, the difference between the money we have and the money we need to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals, the difference between those two figures is the sum equivalent to that which is siphoned off by corruption and bribery globally. So the Commonwealth has been totally focused on how do we interdict those illicit flows and how do we send them back to where they're needed, which is our countries. And this is really so important because if you think about corruption, it's not a victimless crime. It's the money we need to build roads. It's the money we need to build schools and hospitals and send our children to school and feed our children properly. And Rwanda has been extraordinary in its commitment to eradicate anti-corruption. I think the President, the Right Honourable President Paul Kagame has made it clear that one of the best ways is to use the technology. So if you think about how you have turned Rwanda into the smart country of Africa with e-commerce and e-governance and procurement, all of that is online, it makes it so much more difficult for people to siphon off money. And so we across the Commonwealth have been working trenchantly together to discover what works, what doesn't work, how can we implement these things. So we're using blockchain. And what is remarkable is if you look at the countries of the Commonwealth, we have 19 countries in the Commonwealth from Africa. Those countries are at the top or in the middle of the Mo Ibrahim Index for Good Governance, and we have none of our countries in the list of the most corrupt. So we are working hard, and I'm very proud that this year, the 12th conference, is coming here to Rwanda, and we've had His Excellency Paul Kagame's total commitment, but the Prime Minister came to join us. And so it was a very special morning, and in the next 4 days, all the heads of the integrity commissions and the anti-corruption agencies are going to be here in Rwanda. And they're going to be plotting and planning and working to make sure we give those crooks a run for their money. They have an illicit conspiracy, well, we have a conspiracy of the just, and we're going to be better than they. So I was very proud to be the special guest speaker. We know that out of Africa, we've already lost more than $1 trillion. Now, that money doesn't stay in Africa, it goes out of Africa, but we need to get the money back. So we're looking at asset recovery. What do we do? How we share information? What works? But we're also keen to understand what has not worked, so we can stop doing the ineffective things and we can work together to make bribery and corruption history. And we're really determined. Are you confident of that? We are. In 2016, when I became Secretary-General, one of the very first things I did was to have a global anti-corruption conference where we brought all of our countries in the Commonwealth to say, what do we do? How can we do it? And as a result, we promised that we would set about creating the methodologies which would be the difference. And we now have the Commonwealth anti-corruption benchmarks. which doesn't just look at corruption in public sector, but also looks at how we can assist the public and private sector to work together and the private sector to interdict this level of corruption. Can we do it without commitment from political commitment? No. Can we do it without the commitment of the private sector and the public sector? No. Can we do it without the commitment of people, individuals like you and me? No. But can we do it together? Absolutely yes. And when we've come together, you've already seen the difference that we're making. We're getting more money back now than ever before. When President Buhari attended the conference in 2016 and people said to him, "Do you want an apology?" He said, "No, I don't want an apology. I want everyone who has taken this illicit money out of my country to give it back." And so these benchmarks are our attempt to make sure those assets come back to Africa. And when they come back, we will build the roads, the schools, the infrastructure, the hospitals, and we will feed and educate our children from the money that people have stolen from us. And I believe if we work together, we can do it. Not on our own, because I think once it was said in the women's conference in Malta, it said, on our own, we are invisible. But together, we are invincible. So that's what they're doing right here in Rwanda. All the agencies, they're coming together, they're plotting, they're planning, and I know they're going to give those crooks, as I said earlier, a run for their money. And I'm determined we're going to win. Oh, I am so impressed by the preparations. You'll remember that I came before most of the buildings were built. So I saw people laying down the foundation stones, and the buildings, they're now beautiful. It's unfortunate that Rwanda has had to be ready on 3 occasions, ready in 2020, ready in 2021, and now ready in 2022. But what a marvelous contribution. Everyone is looking forward to coming to Kigali, and people are talking about Kigali as the jewel of Africa. This is the first time that Africa has hosted CHOGM since the Ugandans hosted CHOGM, more than 10, 15 years ago. So this is a special moment. We have the African Continental Free Trade Area, we have all of the innovations that are coming, and this is a real opportunity to celebrate the Commonwealth, but also celebrate Commonwealth Africa. Well, we have a large number who have already confirmed, but you know, every day we get more and more and more. So we are hoping that as many who are able to come out of the 54 leaders will be with us. And we know that some are having elections and some still have closed borders because of COVID. But we are hoping and expecting a really good attendance. And I know from speaking to all of our leaders, they all want to be here. So if anyone doesn't turn up, it won't be because they don't want to come, probably because they can't, but we're keeping all our fingers crossed. Well, I think one of the things we're concentrating on is not just deals from that meeting, but how can we build the trade and investment flows throughout the Commonwealth. I think the 700 million you're talking about is the 700 billion of intra-Commonwealth trade there currently is. So at the moment, you've got 20% more trade coming between Commonwealth countries, and it's 21% faster, easier for us to trade with each other. So the big question for us is, how do we convert that Commonwealth advantage, which we talk about, into real benefit? We have grown the trade between our Commonwealth countries. So it's now, in spite of COVID, looks as it's going to be back up to 700 billion. But we would like, by 2030, to have 1 trillion trade between our Commonwealth countries. But for Commonwealth Africa, there's a real opportunity because, of course, most African countries have now signed the African Continental Free Trade Area. And look at what's just happened for East Africa. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has joined the East African community. That means East Africa has gone from a market of just about 100 billion to over 200 billion. So these opportunities, if we get our modalities right and the things we're doing in the Commonwealth, is we're looking at creating templates for legislation, for regulation, contracts and agreements. So we are really hoping that at this trade conference that we have on the margins, the forum on the margins of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, we will see real business being done. And I know that there's some good surprises coming, but I don't think I should say them because that will spoil things. But I think there are going to be some really good things happening. Well, 3 countries are in the process of applying to join our Commonwealth, which is a real sign about how healthy we are, that so many countries, some of whom have never been part of the Commonwealth family, indeed like Rwanda and Mozambique and Cameroon, yet they've seen the excitement and the importance and they want to join. So 3 countries are in the process of applying to join the Commonwealth, and we are hopeful that 1 or 2 may be able to complete the process before June. And if that happens, they will be with us in Kigali.
So we can expect a new member?
Well, I think you should watch out. There'll be a lot of excitement. And I hope we might see 1 or 2 new members in Kigali. Well, we will firstly count it a success that all of us can come together in one place, because this opportunity to just meet is been something that many of our members have been longing for, thirsting for. The last 2 years has been really tough for everyone. If you think about how many people have died, we've lost probably about 1 billion people. Well, actually, it's 1 million people across our Commonwealth. That's been painful and difficult. It's affected our trade. It's been difficult at times of climate change. So coming together is one big opportunity. It will probably be the first face-to-face global meeting of leaders that we've had in the last 2 years, which is not hybrid, totally face-to-face. But if you think about the things we've set ourselves, the things on innovation, on young people, on climate change, on digitalization, on technological development, on creating a smarter Commonwealth to better respond to our citizens, the fact that we are aspiring to take those additional steps for the 2030 agenda on sustainable development, the SDGs. These are clear targets that we hope we will do together. The blue and the green economy. We have to build back better. We have to respond to the terrible tragedy that we've seen. If you look at our climate change, you know how many countries have suffered during this period. If you look at COVID, you can see, and I think both myself and Tedros talked about the fact we've all been in the same storm, but we have not been in the same boat. Still in Africa, some of our countries have less than 10% vaccination, like Sierra Leone, and yet in other parts of the world, you have countries with 95% vaccination, not just 1 vaccination, but 3. So we will be looking at the health issues that have come out. We will be talking about how we can recover and how we can do that together. So I will see it as a real success if we are able to make significant steps forward and agreement in terms of how we innovate, how do we create a greater ecosystem for development, and how do we make sure that we are able to respond better if we are hit with another pandemic. This was the first pandemic in 100 years, but I'm afraid a lot of people are having to come to terms with the fact it might not be our last pandemic. So we're hoping that when our leaders come together, they will be able to learn from the last terrible 2 years how we can better respond, because we have responded. In many ways, we did brilliantly. In many ways, we became more innovative, more creative, because we had to. If you think about what we've done on e-commerce, what we've done in relation to having virtual meetings, we went in the Secretariat from having all face-to-face meetings to all virtual meetings like that, by a switch of a button. And we ended up having thousands of meetings on a virtual platform. We'd never done that before. The world is materially different, and I think we're moving into a hybrid, technologically engineered world and a digitalized world. So we're going to have to help all of us to make that leap across the digital divide so we don't leave people behind. You know that many of our countries are suffering now because they don't have internet connectivity and they haven't got the technological benefits they need to be the difference they need to make for their people. So all of those issues are going to be addressed by our leaders very, very seriously. And if we're able to come up with a plan to deliver that, that will be a great success. And of course, if we're joined by new members, that would be a success too. Well, you know, the world has been shocked and pained by what has happened in Ukraine, just because of the loss and the tragedy of life. And you know, the Commonwealth is totally committed to the rule of law, to good governance, to peace, and we are supporting all of those who are working for peace in Ukraine. But there are political, economic consequences if you look at the disruption for oil and gas, the food security issues. They are going to have an impact. Some are saying that we therefore have to face up to the fact that we've got to look more carefully at our food security. How do we increase the productivity within Africa, for example? Because some of our countries export everything they grow and import everything they eat. So this trauma that's coming now is helping us to look again. How do we make sure that the regions are able to feed their own people? How do we make sure that we enhance our agribusiness? How do we use technology to make us more secure in every sense, more politically secure, more economically secure, more physically secure, more technologically secure? So those issues, I think, have been brought into sharp focus. We're used to having one problem to deal with. Now we have insecurity, which is global. We have climate change, which is hugely disruptive and poses an existential threat to many of our countries. We have economic difficulties, which comes from the interaction of all those three. And we have a growing population in our Commonwealth, for example, which is young. 60% of our Commonwealth is under the age of 30. So we have to look at how do we look after our children, our young people? How do we make sure they have aspiration and inspiration and opportunity? How do we cull from their talent the things that we know we need for the future? I am optimistic because when I come to Rwanda and I see the wonderful young people, when I go to all the other African countries and the Commonwealth, the young people of the Commonwealth are so inspirational. They are so creative, so innovative. And I look at all the SMEs, the startups that are coming, and if you think about the most successful companies in the world, many of them were created within the last 20 years, some of them within the last 10 years. Think about people like Alibaba, just from nowhere. So we know we have that innovative potential, and we have to create the ecosystem which will enable us to enable our young people to take advantage. Because if we don't do that, if our young people become hopeless and not hopeful, if they aren't educated and given the opportunities, then we are creating a problem where we won't be able to deliver for them. And I know all of us and all of the leaders in the Commonwealth are focused on making sure that does not happen. So we are going to focus on our young people, dig deep, and I am confident if we work together, we'll come up with the solutions. Oh, I love the spirit of this country. When I first got off an aeroplane and I set foot in Rwanda, I couldn't believe what I saw. This was a dynamic, young, vibrant, clean country. And I started, I have to tell you, a task. I call it Hunt the Piece of Paper, because this is the most immaculate country I have ever seen. And only on one occasion did I see one piece of paper on the pavement, and then and I thought, yes, I've seen a piece of paper. Then someone came and picked it up. So it was gone. So I'm so impressed by how green the country is, how beautiful it is. And you'll know that I was privileged to go and see the gorillas. And we had the naming ceremony, and I was allowed to name my own gorilla. My gorilla is called Nigerian, and that's because when I went to Ngong in Kenya, the Maasai named me Nigerian, which is called the peaceful one. So apparently my gorilla is probably one of the naughtiest gorillas, the young gorillas, but he is now called Nigerian. So the warmth of the people is what I will remember. And I'm afraid you have some beautiful designs which really tempt me. And so I'm sure that when I go back, I'll probably go back with a couple of more of your wonderful dresses. So maybe we'll put that in the film. Rwanda has so much to be proud of. And also, I will never forget going to the lighting ceremony when we were commemorating and remembering all of those who died and all the families that were lost during the genocide. I think I will never forget that night. It wounded my heart to see the pain that was suffered by this country. And then it delighted my heart to see how out of all that horror has risen one people, beautiful, together, creating an extraordinary country. I think Rwanda has so much to be proud of. And every time I come, it seems somehow to have been made more beautiful. I'm not quite sure how you've done it, but I think you need to share the recipe with other people because it's really good.